The Christmas poem by Christina Rossetti. Love came down at Christmas, love all lovely, love divine. Love was born at Christmas, star and angels gave their sign. Worship we the Godhead, love incarnate, love divine. Worship we our Jesus, but wherewith for sacred sign? Love shall be our token. Love be yours and love be mine. Love to God and neighbor. Love for plea and gift and sign. Christina Rossetti got it right. It's all about love. And at Christmas, love comes down. Depends on your cosmology whether love comes down or love comes up. Or love wells from within, but love comes. What's it like when love comes? It's warm. It fills you. It makes you think you're better than you ever thought you were. Somebody cares that much. How could they care about me? Love makes me want to be close to someone. Love draws me like a magnet. I'm bursting. Jeremiah was talking a bit about that in his words this morning. He talked about what it would be like when the Jews came back from their exile into the promised land. The young men would dance, he said. It will be a time for rejoicing, a time of loving. So why is it then that the gospel won't leave us alone? We have to go off to Egypt. The three kings came. By the way, you notice how muddled the chronology seems to be. We've gone off to Egypt today in the gospel lesson, but the three kings are coming tomorrow. To Bethlehem, of course, and they're going to miss us. No. Stories can be like that. They can take poetic license. But why is it that in Matthew we have to go to Egypt? Well, of course, partly it was because for the earliest Christians, they saw Jesus as recapitulating, if you like, the life of old Israel. Israel's normative moment had been to be slaves in Egypt, to live the life in the wilderness, and to end up in the promised land. And so it made sense to Matthew, especially in his gospel, who was a Jew, to write that way about Jesus. So he has to go off into that kind of imposed, self-imposed exile at least, and then finally come back when they thought it was safe, but it wasn't safe. The angel was wrong, did you notice? The angel said it was safe to come back. And the fact is that when he got back, they discovered it was worse than before. Archelaus was worse than Herod, so they had to flee up to a very obscure place in the northern part of the country, to Nazareth, and to stay there, even though they really were Judeans. There's something so important about that the gospel just will not let us live with the joy of the first blooms of love. And if you wish, for all the fact that it was an uncomfortable manger, that was there. It was there that the first blooms of love were to be seen. And this child, so special that people were flocking to see him. Last Sunday, Toby and I were at Trinity Cathedral in Phoenix and heard a fine sermon by the Bishop of Arizona, Kirk Smith, and he talked about the fact how people were traveling to go to see him. Americans travel like mad, but not necessarily to go to the manger. They were all going to the manger. The shepherds left their flocks and went to the manger. And, of course, the kings in their due course came to see him too, and to do what was important to them, which was to establish their sense of closeness to him by offering their gifts to him, and in offering the gifts, offering themselves. But life doesn't leave us with the first bloom of love either. It may be 2 years into the first bloom when the rose begins to get a little bit frayed at the edge. It depends on the timing of things, I guess, and the chemistry between two people, but sooner or later there's an Egypt to every love affair. My, you are laughing. But it's true, is it not, that at every time we come to realize that we have not married a mirror image of ourselves, which would not be nice. On the contrary, we met and fell in love and been loved by someone very different. Today's collect, to me, is one of the wonderful collects. God has created in every one of us a dignity. That is to say, a worthwhileness. That is to say, an integrity, which traditionally is called imago Dei, the image of God, which is the image of love, right? And so when we fall in love with someone else, we're falling in love with another person who carries within him or her the image of love, the image of God, and in a different way than you. Thank goodness in a different way than you, because the world is so much richer by the fact that each one of us brings our own little shard of God's love into this world. But it's that difference that creates also the tensions and the conflicts. And even as we seek, of course, always to change that person we love to be just exactly as we wish him or her to be, the fact is God will not let us do that. And if that person is wise, he or she will cooperate with God in not letting us do that. But so there can be conflict, and so there can be Egypts. There can be mistakes, there can be prejudices, there can be hurts, there can be violence. There can be a wilderness aspect on the journey of love for every one of us, and every one of us who has experienced it must know that to be true. So the Christmas story, even by itself, is not complete until we go to Egypt and come back. And wherever we come back, it may not be the place where we started, but it will be a place where, hopefully, as Paul says in his epistle to the Ephesians this morning, we will have found a new wisdom and a new insight that allows us to respect the dignity in the person whom we have fallen in love with and who loves us. Well, this is all warm and cozy. And it speaks about my relationship to you or you or you or to that one person. The fact is the gospel is about the world. The three kings came and they were unwelcome people. The three kings were not Jews. The three kings, therefore, were not welcome in the land of Israel. And it was as outlandish to think of they coming to offer worship to Jesus as to think of God using the Babylonian king to do righteous things to the people of Israel and send them off to exile. God does that kind of thing. But he does that because God is calling us to see the fact that at every place and every time, God's dignity is to be seen, and love is to be found and to be offered. And so the kings have come from a far place. And so we must come always, from wherever place we have found ourselves. And for those who are still out there looking for that star, one says, how are we to help them see this star? Well, the star is seen, Christina tells us, in the signs of love. If we as a community do not show the signs of love, how is the star to be seen in this world? How are people who are afar off, seeing themselves perhaps as alien or alienated, how are they to come? How are they to open themselves to allow this God to come into their lives, this God whose love is unfailing, who not only creates but restores their worthwhileness, their lovableness? So much of what this congregation has done, it seems to be these last couple of years especially, since St. Peter's and Trinity have joined forces, is to try to be that star in little ways in the city, but important ways. The Christmas dinner, the feeding of the homeless each month or every 6 weeks or so. What our plans are for the future. That this place can never be a place just for you and me to come and do supposedly holy things at a supposedly holy table, but a place where the holiness is seen in the reaching out to people and they're coming here and being a holy people. Christmas is among us, everyone. Love has come down. Love comes down. Love is here. 5 candles. A wilderness journey has taken us to the Christmas candle, the light, the star from the east. How beautiful, how lovely, how demanding, how challenging. For us, it is our life. Amen.